Good evening, and welcome to another World of Warships video with Captain Darkwing Glacier. In this battle, I'm taking out my Tier 10 French cruiser, the Henri IV, or Henry IV, as I will probably be pronouncing it for the rest of this video, because I'm not French and I don't really speak French, and my pronunciation was probably horrific. So, in this battle, I am taking advantage of my high speed and my speed boost as well, and with that the Henry IV can get to, I believe, more than 42 knots, or very close to it, which is the fastest speed possible in a cruiser in this game. And I'm using that to get as far west as I can to hopefully set up some kind of a crossfire against the enemy team. Now I'm waiting until I have the most favorable shot, because I've learned that at long range at the beginning of games, the enemy teams are usually waiting for a good target to shoot at, and if I expose myself by firing first, I'm liable to get a mess of shots from the enemy. So I waited until the Alabama took his shots, and then I fired my own. I just get one shatter on the first one, and I gotta be careful not to run into an island. The thing I liked about the French line, especially starting with the Tier 8, the Charles Martel, was essentially that it's a excellent kiting cruiser. It has very good range guns, and it's extremely fast, and the advantage of that is when people fire back at you, they frequently underestimate the lead that they need to give you to take you out. So they end up, as long as you stay in a straight line and just wiggle maybe a little bit, many times their shots will just fall harmlessly behind you, and it's very difficult for them to adjust to that. So I've learned that the Henry IV is the same in that respect. It's even faster, so even though you're facing higher tier ships, and it itself is a much larger ship than the Charles Martel, you are able to experience that a lot, where people underestimate how much lead they need to give you, and you escape taking a lot of hits. This doesn't mean you can, of course, sail broadside to the enemy, which is kind of what I'm doing right now, but fortunately I'm not detected, so I'm just waiting to see where they are. But the key thing with the Henry IV and the Charles Martel, and also the St. Louis, which is the Tier 9 ship, is that you want to stay at medium ranges. You don't want to get too close, because you're not a knife fighter, and if you end up getting too close, you do have backup torpedoes that you can use that also have very good arcs. But you don't want to get too close, because your armor just can't stand up to it, and it doesn't take it, and your speed advantage doesn't help you that much. You need to use that speed to get out of that close range. You also don't want to go too far away, because you're just going to be ineffective. So you want to have that kind of medium range, where you can harass the enemy, and when they fire back, they misjudge where you are, and hopefully they will miss. Of course, here I'm not paying attention to where I'm going, and I crash into the friendly Izumo. And at this point, just me and the Izumo are the furthest back on the team, so I realize I need to close a little bit. And since I'm not going to be the primary target right now, the Edinburgh, the Fletcher, and the Cleveland on our team are going to take the brunt of the fire. So at this point, now I can just start closing with the enemy and keeping up as much fire as possible. So now it looks like the Alabama is, can't really, yeah, it looks like he's either going slow or he's in the process of going to attempt to bow tank. I think he realizes that both him and the Moskva are trapped over here by themselves, and they're not going to get out of this, so they're just going to try to sell their lives dearly as much as they can while bow tanking. Looks like our Edinburgh is about to get killed. I set a fire on the Alabama, and I'm trying to get on his flank so I can get a nice good broadside on him. And if I get close enough, I might even be able to get some torpedoes out. But the key thing here is that I'm very fortunate that nobody's looking at me, so I can just farm damage and hopefully contribute as much as I can to killing these guys, and hopefully not lose any of my teammates in the process. So I switched to AP since I have good angle on the Moskva, but he turns away, and unfortunately my shots either get shattered or deflected. Looking at the big picture here, we're kind of in trouble because we're down 4 ships to 2, and the enemy is completely overrunning the eastern flank, whereas ours is still fighting the enemy, but we've got the A-cap and we're starting to advance south. So we're going to need to continue going around as fast as we can to try to make up for the loss that we have. And there we go, we just lost our Edinburgh. So now we're down 5 ships to 2. So I line up for my torpedoes thinking maybe I can get the Alabama here. He looks like he's going to go down soon anyway. We got to eliminate him as fast as possible. Same thing with the Moskva, and then start moving east, because right now our eastern fleet, consisting solely of the Bismarck and the Cleveland, are in full retreat, heading west as fast as they can, and we're probably going to be losing the B-cap soon as well. Interesting there, it looks like their North Carolina rammed their Cleveland and just killed a teammate, which is kind of odd. I'm wondering if the Cleveland was extremely low on health and the North Carolina just finished him off. But in any event, I get my first kill, I get the Alabama. Now the Moskva is angled pretty well, but I still have HE, so maybe I can finish this guy off too, and I am able to do that, and I get kill number 2. So now all of our ships are starting to turn east because we need to get to that cap fast. There's the North Carolina. He and perhaps a Cleveland are going to be the only ships to face us in the near term, and it's now to start farming fires off these guys. So our Fletcher is moving forward to scout as much as possible. We have a Montana and a Cleveland, and the North Carolina is in full reverse. He's going to bow tank as long as he can and try to last as long as he can and hope for reinforcements. The enemy Cleveland is now advancing as well, but he is going to go right into a Montana, so he's going to be in trouble. And hopefully our weight of numbers will be able to overwhelm them down here, because it looks like to the north the enemy is closing in on B fast. So I continue to farm HE damage. I look at the Cleveland, and it looks like he is reversing back into the channel between the 2 islands, which is probably a wise decision, because if he just charged forward and ran into our fleet, he would not last very long at all. So North Carolina continues to burn. I aim a little bit towards the bow and then towards the stern in the hopes of spreading my fire across his ship and maybe setting more fires. Looks like that one fire went out. And of course, I only get 1 hit out of that salvo, so I probably need to be doing better than that. So now the Cleveland is actually moving out of the channel and turning to port to escape, but he's exposing himself to fire from the Montana. And I think he just took a big hit there. I'm kind of disappointed that I'm not setting more fires than I am. There we go, there's a fire. So now I see the Cleveland, he's exposing a good amount of broadside to me. I'm able to get an AP salvo off on him. And I'm able to Citadel him, which is great. He's down to about a 1/4 health. I get 1 more salvo off. The North Carolina is burning, and he goes down to the Montana. And I almost get him. Take out one of his turrets. Maybe 1 more salvo will do it. But nope, he's taken out by the friendly Cleveland. So here's the enemy Montana. Now he's all alone. The enemy is up in the B cap, and they are taking it. Yep, they just captured it from us. So they have 3 caps to our 1. But fortunately, we've made a good comeback, and now we are ahead. What's that? 7 ships to 5. And fortunately for me, the Montana is not looking at me at all. He has bigger threats up to the west, the northwest, whereas I can just fire upon him with impunity, and I can actually get a good angle on him. I launch some torpedoes at him. Hopefully he will be distracted by his forlorn charge into our fleet, and the torpedoes will get him. I'm able to get a citadel into him, so now I have perfect broadside. I'm going to stick with the AP and just keep firing salvo after salvo into his side. Hopefully I can take him down. Looks like he accelerated and he's going to pass my torpedoes by. So I'm just going to have to rely on my AP shells to take him out. To the north, our Bismarck goes down, so now we only have the Cleveland up north to face the enemy. We now have 6 ships left to their 5, and there goes the Montana. And so there are 4 enemy ships. They have a destroyer, which is right at the mouth of the channel. He looks like he was coming in maybe to help the Montana, and he smokes up immediately. And our Cleveland has radar, so he might be able to radar him for us. Of course, I misjudge where the destroyer was going, so because he immediately reversed. We just lost our Cleveland to the north, so now all of our ships are to the south, and theirs are somewhat scattered. We still have a 1-ship advantage. Yeah, it looks like the Cleveland radar ran out. He might be turning on his hydro at this point. So I'm keeping my guns aimed in this direction, and I'm continuing to fire to hopefully pick him out of the smoke. And there he goes again. It must be picked up by the Cleveland's hydro. I anticipate he may stop and start going forward again, but it looks like he's continuing to reverse and try to get out of sight. My aim needs a little bit of work. There we go. I set a fire on him. Now the enemy Frederick the Great is heading to the A cap, and he is starting to take that. So we don't have any points coming in at this point other than kills, and the enemy do have a lead, but fortunately I do a blind shot on the Z-46 and I'm able to take him out, but his torpedoes are coming in, but looks like our Cleveland is in good position to maneuver away from them. So my teammates are trying to deal with the Frederick the Great over there, and I realized, since I have the speed advantage and I'm close, I need to go after the D cap. Unfortunately, there's an enemy Monarch between me and that cap. But I realize he's bow on to me, and my own experience with the Monarch is that it's not exactly the toughest ship, and I have twice the health he does, actually more than twice. So I'm not really that afraid at this point. Just keep bow on to him, keep pounding him as long as I can, and if he gets close enough, then I'll just launch torpedoes at him. Yep. Fire the starboard set. And then I'll start jinking back over to starboard. And looks like our friendly Izumo took out the enemy Frederick the Great. So the A cap is back in our hands. I get the Confederate award. And this Monarch is not jinking at all. It's like he doesn't expect me to have torpedoes, and now he sees them, but it's too late. He's gonna take a torpedo right in the bow. I cause some flooding, cause some more damage. I get my next salvo of torpedoes off, but it doesn't even matter because the fire takes him out anyway. So now I can capture D and probably confirm the win at this point, because we now have and there's their last ship, the Charles Martel, who looks like he was coming to help the Monarch, but he's way too low on health to deal with me, and he realizes his mistake right away. He puts out the fire immediately. My next salvo is AP, and there's no way he's going to survive this one, and that's kill number 5, the Kraken Unleashed. I think it's the first one I ever got in this ship. First place on the team, and that was a nice surprise at the end to run into that Charles Martel, and we get the win. Thanks for watching.